Okay.
Awesome. Great. So thanks for talking with me today, Michael. My first question today is kind of the place I like to start with all alumni. You probably, this is a while back, I suppose, but talk to me about why you chose your degree, the degree that you did when you were in college, and how that's affected the way that you've interacted with the world since then.
Oh, wow. Well, I I thought I might be interested in business, but I didn't want the confinement of a business degree. I always had a real strong interest in the humanities. A very important person in my life is a gentleman who passed away just a couple of years ago. His name was Ed Keynes. He got his PhD in Madison, and he was a professor of my parents at Penn State. And he was a very important person in my kind of intellectual development. And he was a 3-time Fulbright professor at Penn State. He taught me how to research and write and think. And actually looked over some of my stuff when I was in college and law school. But when I was in high school, he took me to the libraries and really showed me and taught me. And I think I had this predisposition to the humanities. And when I really thought I really thought I wanted to go to law school also. And when I really looked at what I wanted to do, my major is behavioral science and law, and it just popped right out of the catalog to me. Um, I was kind of like I wanted to take a little of this and a little of that, and that's what I loved about BSL is that I did a lot of political science and loved it, a lot of economics and loved it, but had great professors in psychology and other places across the humanities that really gave me a very meaningful undergraduate degree, I felt.
Excellent. Has your has your degree changed the way that you, or how has it affected the way that you see the world, do you think?
Um, uh, when you read, you tend to, I think you're drawing from a bunch of different places. I think it's not so confining. I think your view is a few different, it goes across the spectrum. You draw from different influences. Uh, but I'm the kind of person I have a lot of I have a lot of interests, and my degree definitely informed. So it opened a lot of doors in my mind that I wanted to go through and learn about. And I'll say it set me up well for law school and the education I got in law school. I can't read a book without education, and I could have done that without my undergraduate degree. So I think I'm sure it impacts me in ways I don't even think about, to be honest. So
Okay. Yeah, I think that's typically how, and that's ideally what a major should do is kind of supplement what you already have. So it's
yes.
good for students to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the students that my career community is business and entrepreneurship. So I see a lot of students who are interested in business, and
Great.
often come to it not really knowing.
Mm-hmm.
Students have kind of a vision of a career as like a straight line, but you
Mm-hmm.
speak about overcoming uncertainty and challenges in your inter-LS conversation. Can you tell me about a career uncertainty you faced and overcome or are currently overcoming?
Oh my God. Um, yeah, I'll tell you. Uh, you don't always know. Life isn't at all a straight line. I mean, maybe it is for some people, but it isn't. It sure has not been for me. Um, there have been times, and I'm in a family business context. That's its own ball of wax. And that's something that I would, if anyone who's seeing this feels like they need to talk about what that's like and to understand if that's right for you, that is something that I can speak to a lot. Um, and I'll tell you that to me, I mean, I'm trying. There have been many times when I've asked myself, is what I'm doing, is it really the right thing? I think that I just, you asked me a heck of a tough question, Beth. It is and it isn't. I feel like you draw on who you know you are, and 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 a faith that it will all be okay, and that you're equipped to handle what you have. And for me, um, there are a lot of challenges. some of them are interpersonal and whatever, but you know, it's a perseverance thing, and also you just know that you're going to be okay. And if you have to make a change, and you'll be okay. And that's something that you'll, and with the background and what you have, you're geared to shift gears and have many interests. But if you're watching this and you're an entrepreneurial driven person and you're a humanities type of person, there's a place for you. And you there's a lot of instinctive and other things that you can do, but you can have a business career without being a business major. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I often I will like, and students kind of, there's a lot of misconceptions about the business world. So students will come to me and say, I think I want business, but I don't even know what that means. And so it's helpful to be able to kind of talk about how different career paths fit into business. I had a lot of students asking me about the difference between they'll ask me, what's the difference between a finance and an economics degree, or an LNS degree and a business degree? And I have an answer, but I'm curious about what your impressions are as a working professional between how a business degree versus an LNS degree with a similar skill set sort of prepare you for the same tracks.
well, here is one thing I would say. There are great courses within the business school and within a business education, and there are things that I think would be very advantageous for you. And I don't know how everything works with registering for classes, but I think it's incredibly important to take an accounting class. And there were always in Madison accounting classes for non-business majors. I think you do need to acquaint yourself with the language of business the best that you can. But so that's something. I think being able to analyze things on a spreadsheet, if you can do that, these are a couple very important skills to really have. And to have a command of personal finance and finance from the perspective of, like, when you borrow money, you're paying rent on that money, and can you deploy it for more than the cost of the rent? And can you control your costs? And maybe even a little bit of business law to understand how you organize a business and to understand contracts. But and if you want to, there are tracks that are carved out for business majors, and there's so many MBA people. But I would tell you, if you want to be an entrepreneur and you have an idea that's your own, learn the things that you need to, but you can do it. I would encourage people to go read about her or to learn about her. She's a brilliant woman who started the company Spanx. It was a product that never existed. She thought of that, why doesn't this exist? She came up with the whole idea. She figured out how to get it produced in Asia. She went there and met people at all the factories, and factories produced her products. She learned how to market it and control her costs, counted money. She owns 100% of that company, never had to take on stockholders, because she had a complete passion on how to do it, what she wanted to do, and she figured out how to do it. She actually has a thing called a master class online, and if anyone's entrepreneurial, I would really so encourage you to watch it. But so I do not want to at all prepare, and I'll tell you, my partner is my brother. And he is an MBA. My brother has an undergraduate degree in environmental engineering and an MBA from University of Virginia Darden School of Business. He has an unbelievably well-rounded business education and a great ability to analyze things from a spreadsheet, granular basis, and to show you the inner workings of how everything moves if you change assumptions. I'm able to not the best at building it. So knowing that language is important. And if you want to climb the ladder at a major corporation, a lot of times, a lot of those positions are carved out for people who have a business track. But it doesn't mean it's the only way. So. Absolutely.
That's an interesting dichotomy. I was going to ask you. It looks like you run your own business, and you confirmed that for me, and that it's interesting that you and your partner kind of are complementary to each other in that respect. It sounds like that one is business, one is not, and you guys kind of. Do you think that benefits your business?
Yes. I'll tell you that in our family business, cross generation is more challenging than within generation.
Uh-huh.
And I'll tell you that, listen, there's always tension. It isn't easy, and I get that. And my brother's just leaving the house right now. But in the meantime, we've sometimes it's been trial by fire, sometimes it's been just pure survival, and we've sometimes you have to learn how to get along. Sometimes there's always a little bit of this, but we are kind of two sides of the same of the coin. But we have a good understanding of each other's stuff. I mean, I'm on a bank board, a regional bank board, and I deal with I deal with financial things a good bit. I serve on a board of directors of a public-private partnership railroad that provides rail services in 8 counties in central Pennsylvania. I'm dealing with hardcore business things a lot, but my main job and what I do here, is I build relationships. I go out and drive the business in here. I go out and make relationships with people who demolish buildings or make products or fabricate or weld or do anything that makes scrap. And we bring it, I make the long-term deals with them. And then we go out and bring it in here. We prepare it, cut it down, bale it, shear it, do whatever, load it into railroad cars, put it in trucks, and it goes to steel mills. We are the recycling business. That's what we do. But most of, and I have other responsibilities in the business. My brother's really operations, and I'm sort of top line. But we are constantly collaborating. Like right now, we're in the middle of our planning process for 2021, short, mid, long-term planning, and we're bouncing off each other. And some of the stuff that he's giving me opinions on is stuff that's more in my area, and relationship allows that. And everybody needs to be kind of like knowing you don't have it all. But so that is sort of. But my brother having a very firm root in very accounting oriented things and very strong business background, it certainly is an asset to me and to us for sure.
That's great. That's excellent. So let me see. So networking is a large part of job searching now, and I think you talked about that a little in your LNS conversation as well, both because of COVID kind of changing the way that people have to interact with each other, but it was that way before too, that who is always key in getting a job. However, networking isn't really a natural activity for most people. So what advice would you have for students who are kind of struggling to build the muscles necessary for networking?
Okay. All right. So the first thing I just always have to kind of put it in context with, and I talked about this in the class a little bit. I clarified it when I wrote up my comments a little bit. Okay, so I hate the word networking big time. I think the connotation to me is like using people for me, kind of and I think that even though we're trying to find people who can help us to establish our career. The way to really look at it is, what am I bringing to somebody else? Look at it as a giver, and look at what you're bringing into their world also, and look at it broader than that transactional way where there's one thing that It's very interesting how people will come in and out of your life, and where those connection points are. Sometimes people come back in later, or in ways that you don't expect or whatever. But I think that what you do is, first of all, as a student, you think about for a second, you pull back and you ask, what am I involved in here? And what do I like doing? If you're a member of a Greek organization, if you're a member of a team or a club, if you're a member of anything that you love doing that's outside of class, there are people who came before you in Madison who did those things. Is there a way you can connect with those people? Fraternities always want to help out, and sororities if they can, want to help out, people who within their group. For me, it was kind of pre-big time internet. I reached out to my national and asked for a directory of alumni. That's sort of one thing. Number two, is there an area of interest that you're pretty interested in? There's a certain general industry that you really like. Look into that industry. Look into that industry's trade associations. Look into that industry. Does that trade association have a meeting, or do they offer things to young people or students, or, look that way. Organizations that seem logical for you. Even like, do you know somebody from your past who does something interesting that you have an interest in? And I think that what you're asking for at first is not a job or an internship or I just want the opportunity to meet you. I want to just talk to you about what I'm doing, about my career search. You know, you develop, you have to sometimes give them, um, and just it's a lot of it is an approach to kind of bring it back around to the first thing I said. Um, be very open to good people, however they may get to you in that sort of realm that interests you, and be very interested in what you can do for them. And if you know somebody who can help them, you have a friend within your sorority who is a major that matches up, and this job isn't right for you. You know, my friend so and so might be somebody who you might want to meet. These kind of things, be of service, look to be of service, and be very open, and be open to the diversity of age. Especially, it's very important to have a wide spread of people and get to know people older than you, and as you go through, people that are your age, and then people younger than you. It keeps you evolving, and it keeps you vibrant in what you do, and it keeps you meeting more and more people. But the approach is that you just want to make your world as big and interesting as you can by being open to the best people you can find in the low-hanging fruit first, the most relevant ways of the people you know, and then however it may happen to you. That in a nutshell, that's the best I can do.
That's great. That's a good answer. Excellent. So you talked a little bit about your business. It sounds like you're in recycling. I always like, it's funny when people will ask, what did you want to be when you grow up? I'm sure that your first thought wasn't, ooh, recycling. And you mentioned on your inter-LS notes that you still haven't achieved your dreams and you're still kind of working toward that. I'm curious about, students kind of often struggle with kind of pinning down what is your dream, and it's a very big question. So talk to me a little about what goal setting, dream setting looks like from your point of view, and what students can take away from that to set their own goals and dreams.
Okay. Wow, that's a big one. The first thing I think, kind of putting it in context, is I think one of the most useful things that a person can sort of adapt within themselves is to materially not feel like you need so much, and to set your goals in a material kind of way. Be able to live on less. And it's interesting. Life evolves. So you really have to keep evolving no matter what you choose to do. And I think, and it's so, it's there are dreams that I have, and there is a financial component to those in some ways, but it's more for me driven by freedom and less by stuff. Some experiences that I want to have, and a desire to deal with organizations that matter to me, which is why I'm here right now. Um, and I want to be one of my goals in life is I want to endow great things in Madison. I want to do great things for our university, because I've been out and seen a lot of universities, seen how a lot of things work. And I'm very proud of our education and of what we do at our university, and of who we are, and of the Wisconsin idea, and all of these things. So I have some overarching, very big goals, and I haven't hit those. But there are even sort of some goals of my own personal kind of freedom. And here's the thing with goals, and here's the thing with circumstance. There's a lot, almost everything is beyond our control. The things that we can control is the way we deal with the stuff that happens to us, and the approach that we bring, our attitude. I've had some sucker punches catch me. I got double crossed by a person I went out of my way to be a very good friend, and he did something financially damaging to my family and my company. He lost his job because it was a bad decision, not because of what it did to us. But we've never fully recovered. It was a position at a steel mill that we had. He's out of the industry. I'll tell you that I forgave him too. My family doesn't even know that, because I couldn't carry the hate on my heart. And I learned about forgiveness, which is another lesson. I learned about all these things you evolve. But so if I just judged myself by the financial performance that I expected before that rug got yanked out from under me, or if I judged it by my limitations or whatever, by things I hoped I could do when I was 47 that I struggle to do, partly because I'm about to pay for my first child to go to college and then a second right after. You know, you have to pull back and you have to be comfortable with who you are within yourself and the track that you're on, and that you're based on everything you faced. You're still standing. You're still doing well. You still have a bright future. And that's all. You know, my brother and I are overcoming some real tough challenges, and we're really doing it. So it's a lot of what you choose to focus on, and it's important to continue to have goals, and it's important to. Life is very seasonal. There are relationships that aren't meant to be with you forever. There are circumstances that are not meant to be with you forever. There are some that are, or longer term. So recognizing that it's seasonal, that you're passing through it, that you're doing well, so you adjust you don't always just keep ratcheting down expectations. I still have high expectations, but it's those priorities of what's important. And sometimes when life kicks you pretty well, you realize what really matters also. And the thing that happened for me in some challenges is like realizing that the most important stuff in the whole world I have. And I met my wife in Computer Science 132 in Madison. She's still my college girlfriend, and she's my wife. She graduated from the business school with cum laude. I mean, my wife, I got better grades because to see her, I had to go to the library, literally. But don't marry somebody because other people are getting married. Marry someone you love, and that's marry someone you can't be without. Build your life around people you love. Value people. Like, you're going to be okay. So that's maybe a really long humanities type of answer to a businessman question, but that's what I got.
I like it though, because I think that students do try to see things that they are looking for a prescribed course. They do want answers, and the answers feel like they should be very obvious. But I liked what you said about, there's financial components to building a dream, but ultimately it's the experiences you want to have. I think that's really a profound way to separate the day-to-day of work and business and career from, the purpose of career and like the purpose of life beyond, actually. So I really like that answer. Right now we're trying to kind of provide resources to students who are kind of struggling in this time of uncertainty. It's really hard to be a sophomore and thinking, well, if I graduate in 2 years, maybe my major won't even be around anymore. So it's good to kind of be able to have this insight to lend to students. I think this will be super valuable.
Awesome. I appreciate it. I'm glad. I appreciate the opportunity to do it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So it sounds like you are definitely interested in kind of working with the UW. Are you open to having me send students to you if they have questions about entrepreneurship or kind of small business management and that sort of thing?
Yes. Yes. If I can help people, I'll tell you something. I remember how scary it was. And I remember for myself, for my friends, I remember, and I mean, I have friends who started jobs in marketing in Chicago. I have a buddy who cried every morning, when he was getting up, he was miserable. And we're geared to look at things like it's linear, and it's a certain kind of, it's not. It's perseverance and staying the course, but it can go exponential. It can be, you can always change tracks, but so I understand like that scary part. And I feel like if I can help somebody feel less scared, like that's because it's going to be okay. So I'd be happy to do that. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. A large part of what we're trying to do is connect students directly with alumni if they do have questions. So I think what I will do is we're connected on LinkedIn. Here, I'm actually going to stop the recording. We're connected on LinkedIn.